Hi, Stu. Welcome, everyone, to the March 2nd, 2026 regular Board of Aldermen meeting. Would everybody please join with me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Alderwoman Tice.
Here.
Alderwoman Gold.
Here.
Alderwoman Sims.
Here.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Here.
Alderman Gould.
Here.
Alderwoman Harder.
Here.
Alderman Ergers absent. Mayor Demich, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do we have any questions, any requests to remove any item? Alderman Lockmuller.
I'd like to make a motion that we table Bill 6591 until our next meeting on March 16th.
Second. We have a motion and a second to table whatever item that was.
Bill 6591, item, I lost everything. B under old business.
Old business, 10B.
Yeah.
Any discussion on that?
Oh, okay.
Yep, 10B. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Any other changes? If not, can we get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move on down to announcements, appointments, which we have none, and down to item 5, public hearing. We have one item, and that is a public hearing on an ordinance approving the site development plan and authorizing the issuance of a new conditional use permit for Honey Coffee to operate a restaurant with carryout at 13 Brentwood Promenade Court within the Brentwood Promenade Shopping Center and the PD Planned Development Overlay District. So with that, I will open the public hearing. And I think what we're going to do, actually, Whitney, is the applicant here? No applicant? Okay, well then, Whitney, why don't you go ahead and let the public know what this is all about.
The applicant is the current owner of Honeybee Coffee in Deerberg Shopping Center. And so they are looking, Honeybee Tea. So they are now looking at filling the vacant former Great Clips space within the Brentwood Promenade for Honey Coffee. They are making no changes to the exterior of the building or the site, and there were no issues regarding parking, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval.
And why do they need a CUP? Is it a conditional use permit that they need?
Yes, restaurants with carryout require a conditional use permit
Okay.
in the Planned Development Overlay District.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Any questions? Anybody in the public care to address or speak on this matter? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing on this item and move on down to the next item on the agenda, which is the citizen comments. Anybody in the public care to address the board? Now is the time to do so. All we ask is that you come to the podium, state your name and your address, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes. Have anybody online? All right, wonderful. We'll drop on down to mayor and alderman reports. First up is the mayor. First of all, I want to thank Alderwoman Tice for handling the meeting, the last Board of Aldermen meeting. I heard from many alder people that it was the best ran meeting that they've had in a long time. But I was in Jefferson City for the Missouri Municipal League Legislative Conference. It's a day-and-a-half conference. It's a wonderful opportunity to hear from different legislators and also to go and meet and speak with your representatives, whether it's your senators or your representative. One thing I wanted to report to the board is a report from the state auditor, and what he told the people in attendance was that the state of Missouri, as late as I think 2023, had a $6 billion budget surplus. And he said that at the current rate that they're going, he expects that budget surplus to be gone by the fall of 2027. So the state of Missouri will have no budget surplus. And the reason for this is a couple of things. Number one, one-time expenditures, as we all are familiar with. Sometimes you use those surpluses to do that. One is the Interstate 70 expansion, some other items. But the other reason that it's getting wiped out is budget deficits. Year over year from the state of Missouri, they have made some massive tax cuts over the years, and so their revenues are dropped, but their expenditures haven't. And so every year they're pulling $300 or $400 million out of the surplus to fill that gap, and it's problematic. So kudos to our staff and to you all for making sure that we don't find ourselves in that position. Not only are we not pulling from our budget reserves, but we continue to add to it year over year. So it's a wonderful reminder of how important it is to have folks that are responsible and good stewards of the tax dollars. And that is it for the mayor's report. Alderman Plufka.
No report.
Alderwoman Parker Tice.
I have two things. On Thursday, March 5th, this Thursday, we have our Ways and Means meeting here in the chambers at 6 p.m. And then our Ward 1 meeting is next Tuesday, the 10th, at 6 p.m. in the Rec Center, and we will have someone from SWT, who's the civil engineer who did the design work of the water runoff at Mount Calvary Park. We had a lot of interest in that, and hopefully we have great attendance again this time. Thank you.
Alderman Goad.
No report.
Alderwoman Sims.
No report.
Alderman Lockmuller.
Public Works Committee will meet this Thursday, March 12th at 6 o'clock in this chamber. Thanks.
Alderman Gould.
The next Communications Committee meeting is March 17th. It'll be right after the next board meeting. That is St. Patrick's Day, so if you're wanting to hang out with us and celebrate St. Patrick's Day and listen to what the committee has to say, I welcome you.
All right. And Alderwoman Harder.
No report.
Okay, that drops us down to the city administrator report. We have one item, and that is presentation of the annual actuarial valuation report for the Police and Firemen's Pension Fund. AJ.
Right. Good evening. Thank you for putting this very important topic on the agenda. My name is AJ Stoll. I'm with Econ Benefits. We serve as the actuary for the pension plan, as well as administrative support for processing benefit payments for the plan, and we have done that for quite some time. Today, what we have to review is the annual valuation report. So we do a report once per year after collecting census data from the city to value the liabilities, bump them up against the assets, and review the funded status of the plan. And then not only looking at it as a snapshot, but also taking this opportunity to kind of project forward and talk about the health of the overall plan. So my goal today, I do have the full valuation report. We're not going to go line by line through each page, but I thought I would just provide some of the key commentary and point you to the important parts of the val report.
And AJ, if I could interrupt just for a second, just for the benefit of those watching and listening, can you explain to them which pension that we're talking about and how, in general, is it funded? How are contributions are made to that?
Sure. So this is the City of Brentwood Police and Firefighters Pension Plan. And there are two sources of contributions. There's employee contributions. They contribute 6% of compensation to the plan. And then there's earmarked tax retirement revenue that is contributed to the plan on behalf of the city.
And where does that come from?
Taxpayers.
Okay. But real estate taxes. How about
From
that?
there we go.
It's
Property
on the real
taxes.
estate
It's a
tax
property
bill.
tax.
Property tax. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Please continue.
And so in the report on page 3, this is the commentary. The key item that I want to draw everyone's attention to is that the market value of assets returned 12.33% for the year ending December 31st, 2025. Built into our costs is that we believe that the investments will return 7% per year. And any time that you see outperformance of that 7%, you're going to see funded status improvement in the analysis. And anytime you have investment performance below 7%, you'll see deterioration in the funded status. So with a 12.33% return, what you're going to see in the valuation report is an overall improvement in the level of the funded status as we look forward. And then there's a couple of pages that I think are helpful that provide 10 years of historical review of what that looks like. And just to note, this is the 7th out of the last 9 years with double-digit investment return growth. It just so happens that the two non-double-digit investment return growths were basically double-digit negative investment return growths. So over the last 9 years, 10 years, you've averaged around an 8.25% investment return. But if we look just at the last 5 years, closer to a 6.25% investment return because of the poor performance from 2022. Did I see a question?
Can I ask a question, Your Honor? So can you explain the significance of having a ratio of planned assets to present value of accrued benefits that exceeds 100%?
Sure. So there are going to be 3 different measures of funded status in this valuation report. The present value of accrued benefits takes a snapshot as of today and ignores the future. It doesn't project compensation. It doesn't project service. It says, what are the benefits that participants have earned today? And we're going to value that liability measure. There are a couple other measures that we have in here. One that we call an accrued liability. And I like to refer to that one as doing a little bit more actuarial gymnastics because we're going to project participants' compensation through retirement. And then we're going to discount that back to today. So the accrued liability is going to have a bit higher liability because we're pulling the costs that are backloaded in a participant's career earlier into their career so that they have a funding mechanism that's more of a percent of pay. The present value of accrued benefits ignores that and just looks at the benefits today. And your plan is a final average pay plan, which means that we're looking at the pay at retirement for an individual. And because that pay at retirement is going to be so much larger than pay earlier in a participant's career, most of a participant's benefit is earned in the last several years because of the value of that pay in the formula. So we don't want to wait until the last few years to fund the highest level. We want to pull that earlier into a participant's career and fund it on a more of a level percent of pay basis.
It's my question. I appreciate your answer. I guess my question was more to, does the ratio that exceeds 100% speak to the health of the fund?
Yeah, a little bit. I would say that it used to be that you just looked at one funded status number, and now I would say we do a little bit more triangulation to dictate if we feel like the plan is in a healthy position. Funded status above 100% is one of those measures that we're certainly looking for. The other is the future trajectory of the plan. How do the contributions coming into the plan match up to the benefits that are being earned so that you maintain a forward-looking positive trajectory of funded status growth? And so we would really pair those two to tell you whether or not you feel like this is a healthy plan. And so you're over 100% funded with about a 0.7% funded status improving trajectory, which is on one of our pages later in the report, which means it's healthy. I think that this plan would be a little bit healthier if you were at 110% funded with about a 1.5% to 2% buffer, because that allows you the opportunity to have bad experience, right? When you have a bad investment year and you lose 10% in the markets, your funded status can go from 110 to 100% and maintain that forward-looking positive trajectory. Pension plans can get in trouble if they maintain 100% funding. They have a bad year and they fall below 90, below 80, and they start having a really hard time funding back that deficit. So I think this plan is in good shape, but we're going to continue to want to see that 110% with about a 1.5% forward-looking trajectory. But I have plans that are 60% funded that are also healthy because they've got tax revenue that's improving their funded status by about 5 to 7% per year. So they had maybe a big tax revenue increase. They paired it with benefit increases. So the funded status is just one component of the health of the plan. Yep. And then funded status, there's many different funded statuses, as I mentioned. So finding the right one that speaks to the health of the plan is also important. I think the present value of accrued benefits for this plan doesn't tell the whole story because it ignores that compensation growth component. For other fire districts where their formula is maybe a flat dollar times service, the present value of accrued benefits would be a fine measure, but not for this plan. Great. So we'll skip ahead. Page 4, I did want to call attention just the value of assets because we are looking at the cash value, what's in the bank, but we also are looking at accruals. So tax revenue for the 2025 plan year is not contributed to the plan until 2026. And we count that in the value of assets, primarily because we're counting the liability that was accrued during 2025. So we're trying to keep the liability and the assets on an apples-to-apples basis. Since we're counting the liability growth in 2025, we also want to count the tax revenue that would be associated with that. So I just wanted to note that as of 12/31/2025, there's 1.299 million of contributions expected to be made to the plan. In 2026, that's 2025 tax dollars. And that's a little bit larger than the accruals at the beginning of the year. And that's because there was a bit more money that came in December of 2024 that didn't come in December of 2025. So the timing of those accruals is important, and particularly there's one page in the back that looks at cash contributions that I don't think it tells the full story because of that nuance of accrual timing. Page 5 is one of our most important pages. This is the development of our recommended contribution. So the bottom is page 5. This is the analysis of contribution input. On an annual basis, we're looking at what should the plan target to fund. And we're going to bump that up against the estimated tax revenue to see if you're funding more or less than that recommended amount. The recommended contribution has two components. There's a normal cost, and then there's an amortization. The normal cost reflects the growth of benefits for an additional year of pay, an additional year of service for your active members. So that's the true cost to provide benefits for the 2026 plan year for your active participants. The amortization component is basically a mortgage of any unfunded liability that you might have. So from 2025 to 2026, the plan flipped from having an unfunded liability to an overfunded liability, becoming over 100% funded on that actuarially smooth basis. And so we actually have a negative amortization payment, which brings that recommended contribution down because you're more or less having a mortgage payment that's paying you as you grow that funded status. But overall, what we'd expect on a prospective basis is that normal cost will be about the same percentage of pay year over year, right? About 25% of pay. We'd expect that into the future. But what that means is as pay rises, as you give pay increases, that dollar amount will also rise. So we expect an increasing dollar cost, but a level, more or less level percent of pay for the cost of providing these benefits. If we scoot ahead then on page 6, this is the present value of accrued benefits. So just bottom line at the bottom here, the plan improved from 109% funded to 113% funded on this basis. In 2 pages, we're going to show you a funded status that's closer to 100% because that's going to incorporate that future compensation growth and pulling it back. But on a present value of accrued basis, a benefits basis, we saw that 4% improvement, and that's generated from the investment returns, outperforming your 7% target. Page 7 just reviews the participant summary, so highlighting here that there are 54 active participants in the plan, 54 retired participants, and 5 terminated vested participants. Page 8 is a development of our balance sheet on this accrued liability basis. So as of 1/1/2025, you are starting the year at $1.7 million in unfunded liability. So you had $54.9 million of accrued liability, $53.183 of assets to get that 1.7 unfunded position. Marking down the page from 1 to 5, these are all items that are expected to happen each year. We expect there to be interest on both the liabilities and the assets, so that unfunded, because you were unfunded at the beginning, was going to grow slightly. The normal cost, that's the participants growing their benefit with a year of service and a year of additional pay in their benefit formulas. The contributions are being made to the plan that offset that normal cost component. And then benefit payments are coming out. And so it comes out of both assets and liabilities. There's no real impact on your unfunded position. So we were expecting from 1/1/25 to 12/31/2025 that the unfunded would improve from a 1.7 to 1.5 million. So about a 200,000 improvement. Line 6 is what happened that we weren't expecting. And there's two parts. There's the liability side and the asset side. So we know that assets outperformed 7%. And so there was a $2.664 million improvement in the funded position because of that difference of a 7% expectation versus the 12.66% actual investment return. On the liability side, there was a loss. So we do our best as actuaries to come up with assumptions, and they're all outlined in the back of this page, but I'm going to be wrong, right? The longer I do this, the more closer I get on an average basis. But this year we had a 0.65% loss, and it had kind of a loss that was offset by gains. So last year, average pay exceeded the 4.5% target, the assumption target that we have built into the valuation. So that created losses on the liabilities. But it was offset by about 4 participants that terminated without being vested. So there were gains that offset the losses. We were anticipating that there would be more losses because we knew about the pay gains, the pay increases, and we didn't know about the non-vested participants. So that ended up being a little bit of a headwind or a tailwind in terms of reducing that loss that occurred during the year. So you're ending the year 12/31/2025, overfunded position of 770,000. Any initial questions on that development? Okay, on slides 10 and 11, these are 2 really good pages. They provide 10 years of history to just showcase where the plan had been, where is it currently in comparison. And on page 10, what we're showing is the actuarially determined employer contributions that we walked through. It's composed of the normal cost and that amortization. And in the second column, it's the actual contributions that were made during the calendar year. I don't love this page. This is mandated because it doesn't include the accrual timing. So like for instance, the 2025 plan year has 1 million of contributions. But that's just cash contributions that were made during 2025. What we know is that 1.4 million in the 2024 row had a little bit of 2025 kind of including it. So I don't love that last column, which shows a contribution as percentage of covered payroll. You would imply from this that 2025 has the lowest contribution percentage of covered payroll. But really, you should compare the first column, which is our actuarially recommended contribution against payroll, which is about a 31% number. And that's a little bit more in line with where it has been historically. So it takes a little bit of that timing of contributions out of it. The other thing to note on this page is that on the bottom, it shows the investment return by year for the last 10 years. And you can correlate spikes in the actuarially determined employer contribution with years following bad investment returns. So the 2022 investment return was negative 13%. When you expect to earn 7, you earn negative 13. That's a 20% hit to your funded status. And you can see the recommended contribution in 22 was at a low of 391,000 and then popped up to 1,380,000. And then the next couple of years, when you have good investment returns, it starts to tick back down. The next page shows that full review of the liability development and the asset development for the last 10 years. And again, it just provides a lot of good context. I think I call this my actuarial report card. There's one line on here called the actuarial losses and gains on liabilities. Our assumptions are meant to be middle of the road. We're not trying to be aggressive. We're not trying to be conservative. We're trying to be middle of the road on all of our assumptions. So I would love it if all of these actuarial gains and losses were 0. That means I always got every actual experience right on. But if it's not that, I'd like to see negatives in some years and positives in other years that kind of average out to 0 over a long enough horizon. And so we saw in 2024, there was quite a large loss That was a $3.4 million liability loss, which is substantially larger than any other year in the last 10 years. Two components driving that liability up. One, compensation grew by more than expected. So there was a cost study that kind of pushed up compensation numbers. And then two, there were disabilities that occurred. Those are low probability, high severity events, and that created some liability for the plan. But overall, in other years, we're seeing that expected kind of flip-flop between gains and losses. And when we look at each assumption, our assumptions seem to be in line with experience. The last two pages that I'd like to point you to are pages 16 and 17. So page 16 kind of incorporates what we've been talking about. The plan is 101% funded, 770,000 overfunded position at the beginning of the year. What does that mean looking forward? So the expected contributions for the year of 2026, 1,690,000. That composes of about 312,000 of employee contributions and 1,377,000 of employer contributions. We've got the accruals that participants are earning in the plan and expenses that are being paid out of assets of 1.36 million, leaving 329,000 to further improve the funded status of the plan. Because you are now in a position where you're overfunded, you also get a little bit of interest on that overfunding. So your net is about 383,000 of expected funded status improvement year over year. So that's 0.7% on a funded status measure. So you'll go from 101 to 101.7% this year. Page 17 is a new required disclosure that's included in these valuation reports. The Actuarial Standards Board decided that we don't show enough funded status measures, so they added one for us. They call this the LDROM, or the Low Default Risk Obligation Measure. And so the idea here is, what if you are not able to earn 7% return on your assets? What does the funded status look like, and what does that trajectory look like? So if we use this low discount rate of 4.44%, which is like a bond rate, a very low, a bond rate, the liabilities would be valued at a higher level because you're discounting cash flows at a lower discount rate. So you would increase your liabilities from the 57 million that we have included in our valuation to 77 million on this basis. Your funded status drops from 101% to 75%. And on a forward-looking basis, maintaining an expected contribution of 1.69 million, your funded status would expect to deteriorate by 2.1%. So the idea here is that the 7% investment return is really built into the funding of this plan, right? At a 4.44% or low return expectation, you would need to fund almost double what you're currently funding to just tread water. And when you think about it on a 401k standpoint, young people and people generally under age 50 aren't encouraged necessarily to invest in low risk, low default investments. They want that investment return, which is going to make up a substantial part of their retirement income. The same is true with the pension plan. It's just that the pension plan holds the risk of that, right? Both the upside risk, which you've seen over the last several years, and the downside risk, which you saw in 2022. And so this does a job in just highlighting that 7% is built into how this plan is expected to be funded. Contributions, but also earnings from the investment side of the portfolio. Any questions about the valuation report?
Yes, Alderman Tice.
Hi, AJ. Good to see you.
Hello, great to see you.
So I have a question about the next page, 18. So on this page are the assumptions, and my question is about the salary appreciation number of 4.5%. So when we did the compensation study, the salary increase, we do a CPI, which is our 5-year CPI to get the increase. And then in addition to that, the step increases in the uniform employees is 5.5% per step. So my question is, are our assumptions here too low? to keep up with the way our salaries are growing?
Great question. I think this assumption pulls a lot of weight in the liabilities, primarily because if you think about the tax revenue that you're receiving, the tax revenue is expected to increase generally with inflation. So if you're increasing your tax revenue with 2.75% inflation and you're increasing your salaries by 4.5%, eventually your salaries will overtake your tax revenue. So there's a little bit of interplay there that we have to understand what is your tax revenue basis and what is your compensation growth expectations, and project those out kind of in tandem. And so this is intended to be a career assumption. It's not an annual assumption, it's a career assumption. And it's made up of two components, that inflationary expectation as well as promotional step increases. And so over the course of a 30-year career, the average expectation is built to be 4.5%. You have control over that, right? Of all of the assumptions here, this assumption is very much in your control to manipulate and change as needed. One of the levers that, if the plan was ever to become in a position that it was struggling to meet contribution requirements, making sure that you're not having those pay increases that increase your costs would, fuel potential savings in the pension plan. But from our analysis and historical pay, this 4.5% assumption has been accurate. And we can see that because in the actuarial report card, there are gains and losses. And so we're looking at all of the assumptions over time. This assumption, if you're telling me going forward now is different than what it has been historically, we can have that conversation of whether or not this assumption will continue. And we can model what the costs of a higher assumption could look like. But from our understanding, this still is an applicable assumption on our best estimate.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? And again, this is just informational only. No action is required by you all, but thank you so much, AJ.
And my last closing comment is I think the plan is in a healthy position. You're over 100% funded. Now you've kind of come out from that 2022 negative investment return. You've built in the compensation increases that have happened, but you will still require that 7% return going forward. You will still require that strong contribution at roughly current levels. So it's not necessarily a finish line hitting 100%. It'll be continuing to hit those 7% in contribution targets.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have any questions about any item on the consent agenda? Alderman Plufka.
Email earlier this afternoon from Octavia having to do with the correctness of the minutes from February 17th, 2026. I was just curious as to whether or not what's in the consent agenda is the corrected red line version, or do we have to make a motion to incorporate that as we vote to approve the consent?
You're going to motion to incorporate them.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, you want to make that motion?
I would make that motion.
Second.
Okay, wonderful. So do we, so how are we handling this, Jim? Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Yes, that's exactly
We don't
right.
need to take a vote on the motion.
No, it can just be a motion
Incorporate it
to
into it.
approve the
Okay.
consent agenda with the minutes as amended that were submitted to the board this afternoon.
Okay, get a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. Drops us down to old business. First up is bill number 6590. Can we get a second read by title only, please?
Bill number 6590, an ordinance amending sections 400.450, 400.920, 400.930 in Division 4 and Division 8 of Chapter 400 relating to building permits for residential buildings and construction projects and declaring when approval of the Architectural Review Board is required.
Motion to perfect?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Goat, I didn't see that, sorry.
That's all right, I'm small. For this, it says in the new version it says to, sorry, where'd it go? To review, do we want to add anything about granting them the position to review, consider, and approve, instead of just to review and consider? Because currently they approve, or does review and consider imply approval?
I'll let Whitney field that one.
Yes, and thank you for your question. Instead of, the way it reads now, it says to approve, which we felt was too much of a foregone conclusion, where under section 400-950, it has that the Architectural Review Board is to make either approve, conditionally approve, or deny. So therefore, we wanted to clarify that it was to review and consider, to encompass all of that they can consider denial, approve, or conditional approve. However, I understand your concern with how it's worded, so we would recommend that it would be to review, consider, and take action. And that would be for section 400-450A1 and A2 to read, to review, consider, and take action. Or it could say to review, consider, and vote to approve, deny, or modify, however you feel best.
However you like to handle it.
I'll go with the first one, to review, consider, and take action
Yes.
in any direction. Just to clarify, to make sure that they know they have that decision-making authority.
Yes. Okay.
So we just need a subsequent motion to amend by interlineation in that manner. And once we have that, then we'll have a final
Then we
approval.
can do the vote. We don't need another motion to
No, we just-
approve. Okay.
No, we just need the subsequent motion to amend as described, to have it read, to
if you wanna
review,
make that
consider,
motion.
and take action.
So I would move that we update as just discussed, to review, consider, and take action as the new language.
Second, if somebody wants. Any discussion? Okay. Do we do that separately, or?
Yep, now
Okay.
just all in favor on that.
All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we had the motion to perfect. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Now, it now becomes ordinance number 5215.
Okay, thank you. Item 10B, we have tabled that. So we'll move down to 10C, which will be Bill number 6592. Can we get a second read by title only, please?
Bill number 6592, an ordinance amending sections 375.010 through 375.150 of Chapter 375 of Title III, repealing sections 340.100 and 340.107 of Chapter 340 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, regulating the use of alternative vehicles in the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and amending Section 225.040 of Chapter 225 of the Code of Ordinances regarding park rules.
Wonderful. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6592 into ordinance form.
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call, please. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I need to grow.
No, it's my eyes. There's something.
Forward more. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, just wanted to clarify on, so I've talked to a number of neighbors. They really are happy something is being done. There was just some folks that wanted to understand what we meant by certain things, I think. So in particularly for the motorized play vehicles, and the example I'll use is a Barbie Jeep. If they don't live on a street that currently has sidewalks, would they be able to drive said vehicle from their house straight to the closest sidewalk or trail path. Would that be considered allowable?
We want to have Chief respond to that. Chief Spees, you want to address that concern raised by Alderman Goode about whether we're going to give a citation to a 6-year-old driving the Barbie Jeep? It's a great question. Great question.
I
No,
hadn't
no.
thought
I-
until they pointed out they had no sidewalks and
Right,
they just
right,
drive it to
right.
the trails. And
No,
I'm like,
no,
oh, good
it's,
point.
no.
So my answer is this, that some of this is common sense. Don't let a 6-year-old take her Barbie thing out of your house and go 2 blocks to the park. That's a bad idea. Do we have to codify that somehow in here? I don't think you need to do that. Part of this is the officers are given discretion in terms of what they're going to do and not do. Clearly, in a case like that, I think what they'd say is either, hey, little girl, you need to go home to your mom, or to the mom, you're fine till you get to the park. I don't really think this is going to be an issue.
Second question that got brought up, not something they necessarily disagreed with, they just wanted clarification on the electric MTDs, the little wheel, yes, that it is not allowed on parks and trails. Their impression was it only went 4 miles an hour, but that they weren't sure on that, so.
Catch up with you here. You're talking about the little stand-up guy with 2 wheels on it, right?
Yes, I think the parent may have been imagining come spring, their child would take said vehicle on the path behind Douglas Court to Mark Twain. They're not opposed to that not being, if that is the rule, they seem very comfortable abiding by it. They just wanted to know how they were going to explain that one. They're good, if that was the rule.
So they're excluded from the parks and trails.
Correct, so they couldn't, but they are allowed on sidewalks.
I defer to Jim and ask you, Jim, can you share why that is?
Just a discussion among, well, it started with staff, including Eric and his staff as to parks, but then it went to public safety. Kind of got reviewed for all the check marks and X's in the table. It got that review. So yeah, the current intent is that those items would be in fact prohibited on trails and in the parks. Certainly this board has the ability, if they're so inclined, to make any amendments. We want the legislation to achieve your goals. We're not forcing you to vote on what
Alderman, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I will say that, I mean, I did have this concern a little bit in public safety, and I'm living where I do, I'm adjacent to Rogers Parkway. That's an area that kids use the hoverboards all the time, and I would rather them be there, especially since there aren't sidewalks either along there. I guess I would be open to those type of vehicles being allowed on at least the trails. I don't know why, I don't know if Eric can speak to the concern with them in the parks.
Maybe Alderman Plufka.
Yeah, from our committee conversation, it was the stance of the vehicle. In other words, a bike has a more narrow footprint, if you will, than this device, which has a wider footprint. And we thought that even with the 10-foot wide trail system, that if you had 2 people walking and this thing came up onto them, and they go faster than 4 miles an hour, but that because of its stature, it could be disruptive. And so we thought that was at least the rationale at the time. It wasn't, it was something we talked about. It was definitely a fluid conversation where we talked back and forth. But I know that was what came up. It just was the nature, the orientation of the vehicle itself being forward-facing and wider as opposed to the profile of a scooter or an e-bike.
But it's no wider than a Barbie truck, or So, and certainly it does, they do zip along pretty quick. I will say that. So 4 miles an hour is probably not how fast it goes. Eric?
The two things I'd say is that hoverboards in particular, most of the time are prohibited in parks and trails. And the main reason is while some people are good at them, it is a device that can lead to mistakes, and it's harder to control than, say, just a regular bike or even a skateboard. And so I think those are the reasons why you see that prohibited in most parks. It is more the danger if someone misuses it than properly using it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Good?
We're good?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, no, absolutely. So we had a motion to perfect, right? Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka.
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold.
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Alderman Gould.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder.
Yes.
Bill number 6592 is hereby passed and now becomes ordinance number 5216.
Wonderful, thank you. That brings us down to new business. We have two items. First up is Bill number 6593. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6593, an ordinance approving the site development plan and authorizing the issuance of a new conditional use permit for Honey Coffee to operate a restaurant with carryout at 13 Brentwood Promenade Court within the Brentwood Promenade Shopping Center in the PD Plan Development Overlay District.
Wonderful. And the applicant is here now, if you would.
Hello.
Hello. Just go ahead and identify yourself and speak a little bit about what you're proposing.
Okay, yes. I currently run the Honeybee Tea that's next door in Brentwood Promenade, and really enjoy doing business in the city of Brentwood. So I'm proposing to open up a coffee shop at the plaza over at the promenade, and it's going to be coffee and matcha and light pastries, and looking forward to doing it and continuing to do business in Brentwood. It's been a joy, and looking forward to trying this new concept here. So, I also since I'd like to ask for a first and second review tonight, since we're not making any changes to the exterior or the site.
Sure. So is it strictly carry out, or will there be places for people to sit and drink?
There'll be a few tables to sit, but most likely, just like our shop, people are always on the go. They're probably gonna leave. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's aimed to go. So.
And parking's covered?
Yes, there's plenty of parking on that side of the plaza. I know that plaza tends to get a little bit congested, but
Really?
but luckily, fortunately for us, in the corner when you first enter the plaza on the far left, it's always seems to be a bunch of spots open there, so that's good for us.
And what about signage?
We're gonna have signage on the front of the building. So.
Whitney, is there special requests for signage, or does it?
Sir, he did not show any signage, so they would either have to comply with the current standards. I know the center is under a comprehensive sign plan. I don't know the specifics
Okay.
about this location.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? You did hear the applicant make a request for a second read tonight. If the board's so inclined, I need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second for a second read. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read by title only, please?
Bill number 6593, an ordinance approving the site development plan and authorizing the issuance of a new conditional use permit for Honey Coffee to operate a restaurant with carryout at 13 Brentwood Promenade Court within the Brentwood Promenade Shopping Center in the PD Plan Development Overlay District.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6593 into ordinance form.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka.
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold.
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes?
Alderman Gould.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder.
Yes.
Bill number 6593 is hereby passed and now becomes ordinance number 5217.
Thank you. Congratulations
Thank you all.
and welcome. Thank you. Next up is Bill number 6594. Could we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6594, an ordinance granting site development plan approval for chiller equipment sound enclosure at 2555 Hermelin Drive.
The applicant want to come on up and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Dennis Johnson. I'm with Condeg Drug Delivery. I'm the Senior Project Manager for Facilities, and hoping to get a first and second reading tonight as well.
Okay. You want to speak a little bit on what you're proposing?
We are proposing to put a sound attenuation barrier around our chiller that has been, I guess, causing some neighbors to be upset with us over there at 2555 Hermelin. Our goal is to have our decibels down to 49.9 dBA, 24/7, which is 0.1 below what it is to be on Sunday afternoons. So, and at nighttime. I do have my engineer of record with me, and he can explain a lot more than I can.
Okay. All right,
I'm just the face. He's
Yeah.
the brains.
So this is a facility that's been there since, we've had a few additions, I believe. And, okay, go ahead and just talk just briefly about the sound issue.
Okay, so in 2018, we started our CGMP2 project, which was adding on to the building. In 2020, we commissioned the chiller that is, for lack of a better term, making the noise. We did do a couple of iterations of put a muffler on it, put some sound dampening on it, and it just did not do the job. So we had two engineers start off on the project to get us to that 49.9. CRB is the winner, and they believe they can get that 49.9 dBA at our property line, and with the sound barrier that they have designed. Direct questions about that, Davis can handle those.
Any questions? Alderman Lockmiller.
Yeah, could we speak with the engineer? And your name is?
My name is Davis Beglin.
Dave, so we're looking at the chillers that are somewhat elevated. That's where the 24-foot wall is going to be constructed. Go ahead.
There won't be, so the chiller sits on an existing structural steel platform.
Right.
So it is already currently elevated. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be building the acoustical panels off of that existing platform.
Temporarily, you have plywood up.
Yes.
And so will it be higher than the current plywood?
What is do you know the height of that
15
plywood?
feet.
I don't know if we have the existing on there.
24-foot U-shaped.
So we're at just under 15 foot for what we're proposing for our new plan for the panels.
That would be on the 4-foot tall existing platform.
If you can see that or not.
So how tall is the barrier?
Total of 20 feet.
And then you also have some air handlers or air conditioners that also are requiring a wall, a soundproof wall. There's like 6 listed.
We're only focusing on the chiller. I don't believe there's anything else that we're doing for any other air handling units. It's the chiller that's been making the noise. We're focusing on that.
All right. I just saw in the report that it had 6 lined up air conditioners that were making some noise too, and you proposed a barrier there or not?
So that was the original iteration with Burns and McDonnell. So through our additional sound study, we've determined that that is not needed at this time. As a part of the what we went to planning and zoning with was that we would do an additional sound study once it's complete to ensure that we are at that dBA, that we're at the 49.9. So we're going to omit the additional sound wall on those smaller units unless it is an issue, to which time we will address it.
Then who would do the sound study?
Is that an
For
independent
completion.
through you guys?
We do have a sound meter, so we could do it. If we want further review, we would require the applicant to have their engineer do another study for submittal.
Those would be taken at the same areas that they were taken back in August? I
Yes.
forgot the date, but and would it be the same time period, or would it be upon completion?
It would be at completion of the project to ensure that the sound walls are compliant with the zoning regulation.
How long will that take?
Construction-wise? Like September, October timeframe, but that also depends on approval when we can get drawings submitted for permit and all that.
Because my feeling is during the cold winter months when those trees have no leaves, I mean, that would be a good time to do the test, because I just think the sound probably carries during the winter months or fall months further than they do during the humid, summer months.
The chiller is actually, for the most part, louder in the summertime too, just because it's working a lot harder to cool the area. So summertime would be the best time. It's usually when it's the loudest. I understand what your point is, though, yes.
No.
The chiller was initially approved in 2015 at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it is in the floodway, so we're still working. They will have to submit for FEMA approval.
Really?
For a no-rise, for a modification to the structure, yes.
Okay.
That will be part of the,
Okay. Any idea how long that's going to take? We have a little experience with FEMA, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm already, yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's good. Any other questions? Yes, Alderman Gould.
I just have a follow-up on what Alderman Lockmuller was getting at, and at the time, the way that this is designed, if when we do the sound study and it isn't meeting the decibel levels that you're looking for, what's the plan then? How do you augment the design to actually get to the levels that we're looking for? Is it adding panels to the top of it to go even higher?
There are multiple options that we can move forward. We don't have an exact contingency plan for if it doesn't work, but
Okay.
yes, we can add panels to it. We can surround it more without suffocating the chiller. There's other options we can do, but we're working with Acoustic Control, which is our sound engineer, our sub-consultant for this, and they've looked at all the information. They've came out, did preliminary reports on it, and they do believe that they can get that underneath the 49
Okay.
decibels.
I just didn't know if there was already a plan for, if it doesn't work, this is how we would, in the design of it, this is how we'd
Yeah,
mitigate.
we don't have anything specifically spelled out for it, but, it's tricky to make sure that we get that sound exact to that 49 decibels, but in discussions with Acoustic Control, they believe they can do that. And if we can't achieve that, there is other options that we can.
And is the sound, I guess, noise pollution that's happening, is it going everywhere? Is it directed up? Is it coming,
Or once we install.
No, I'm just talking in general, from a direction of what's causing the sound. Is it just
Yeah,
omnidirectional?
Yes, it is, since it's raised off of the ground, the 4 feet, it does travel everywhere. It comes from the underside of the machine, of the chiller itself. The compressor is on the bottom, and
Okay.
that's what's creating the.
And you've
whining.
got some fabric that you're putting down for the
Sound blankets, yes.
sound blankets, so that's because of the FEMA
We don't want
issues?
to build off of the ground if we
Okay.
at all can avoid it, yes.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I guess, speaking as the owner, my last contingency plan would be to move the chiller to the other side of the building. I'm being
Okay.
serious. It's a consideration, because, we want to be friendly neighbors, and we don't want our neighbors to be angry with us, and if we're not able to achieve it through this, then that's definitely on the table.
Great, thank you. And you did say you would like a second read on this, and I'm assuming the reason for that is time is of the essence. You can't really apply for permits, FEMA, et cetera, until this board does something with the ordinance. Does that sound fair?
Motion for a second read?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read by title only, please?
Bill number 6594, an ordinance granting site development plan approval for chiller equipment sound enclosure at 2555 Hermelin Drive.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6594 into ordinance form.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka. Alderwoman Tice.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold.
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Alderman Gould.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder.
Yes.
Bill number 6594 is hereby passed and now becomes ordinance number 5218.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Anybody in the public care to address the board? Now is the time to do so. All we ask is that you come to the podium, state your name and your address, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes.
No raised hands.
Nobody online, okay. Well, seeing we have no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.